It isn't easy to sell a used mattress. Who wants to risk bringing an infestation of bedbugs into their home? Who wants to lay atop a stranger's sweat, skin cells, and bodily fluids? Who wants to sleep in the place where another person might have died? Maybe even died horribly. It isn't easy to sell a used mattress, but it's especially hard to sell a haunted mattress. It all started with my ex, Amanda. It's normal to have a shouting match during a breakup. Maybe it's even normal to break things in the process. But using a knife to carve up everything your partner owned, from their artwork to their couch, I call that crazy. I suppose I was lucky that I wasn't at home when Amanda shredded my stuff and left. If I had been Hammer Fontidawasimernu, I might have gotten myself as neatly sliced up as my mattress was. Walking through my bedroom door was like walking into an explosion at a stuffing factory. After that first agonizing night of sleeping on the floor, I nearly nodded off while driving my forklift at work. I couldn't afford to wait any longer. I bought the cheapest used mattress I could find online before she left. My ex had done a hack job on my bank account as well. The seller, a guy with a smoky southern accent about twice my age, even offered to drive it to my place. He looked about how I expected when he showed up that evening. White tank top, grizzly gray stubble, tired eyes. The mattress seemed in good condition, not at all stained or yellowed, and for that I was grateful. The old codger barely said a word. He just helped me unload the mattress, counted the $49 I'd handed him, and drove off, lost in his own thoughts. Sure, his behavior was odd, but I was just happy to have something soft to sleep on. After that first agonizing night of sleeping on the floor, I nearly nodded off while driving my forklift at work. I couldn't afford to wait any longer. I bought the cheapest used mattress I could find online before she left. My ex had done a hack job on my bank account as well. The seller, Martin, a guy with a smoky southern accent about twice my age, even offered to drive it to my place. He looked about how I expected when he showed up that evening. White tank top, grizzly gray stubble, tired eyes. The mattress seemed in good condition, not at all stained or yellowed, and for that I was grateful. The old codger barely said a word. He just helped me unload the mattress, counted the $49 I'd handed him, and drove off, lost in his own thoughts. Sure, his behavior was odd, but I was just happy to have something soft to sleep on. Discount pillows, a second-hand mattress, and thrift store sheets. It wasn't perfect, and slashed-up reminders of Amanda were still stacked around my apartment, but having a place to sleep made me feel like I was finally getting my life back together. Or at least it did, until I lay down on my new mattress and closed my eyes. The mattress was neither too soft nor too hard. There were no lumps or pits. It was clean and comfortable, but it felt old, like I could smell the dust of decades on it. I wondered, chuckling, if I might have just bought my first feather bed. It was the last time I laughed for a long time. As I was nodding off, I had the strangest feeling that the mattress was moving beneath me, undulating like gentle waves. Something crawling or snapping would have woken me in a heartbeat. But this was different. It was actually relaxing. Soon, however, the feeling became anything but comfortable. It was like I was drowning in those fabric waves. My eyes snapped open, and I realized with horror that the cloth of the mattress had nearly covered my hands, ankles, and neck. It was like it was trying to eat me alive. I tore myself free and pressed my back against the wall, panting. But the moonlight pouring through my bedroom window shone down on a perfectly ordinary mattress. Or did it? I'd swear that beneath the wrinkled sheets I saw a ripple of movement. All I could hear was my thundering heartbeat. I took a long drink of cold water, and while I did, I kept one eye on the mattress. I couldn't say why, but I felt like at any moment some awful thing would rise up from beneath those sheets. On one hand, I told myself that there was no way I could go back to sleep after what had just happened. On the other hand, I had to work in the morning. With a sigh, I lay back down carefully. Nothing writhed beneath the fabric. I wasn't suddenly sucked into a feathery black hole. Not even the box spring squeaked. Everything was fine until the moment I fell asleep. They were hands. I hadn't wanted to believe it at first, but I couldn't deny it any longer. Hands made of impossibly solid cloth were pulling me into the mattress, suffocating me. The light of my bedroom got smaller and smaller as the fabric closed around my face. It was like being buried alive. With an effort that made all my underused muscles cry out in torment, I bit into the mattress with my teeth and twisted my torso out onto the floor. I was drenched with sweat, But the mattress looked no different than it had the moment I bought it. It sat there, still and silent, like it was mocking me with its normalcy. I groaned and dragged myself out to the main room of my apartment, where I stuffed a pillow beneath my head and tried to sleep on the rough, scratchy carpet. It was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I could imagine how it would happen. My bedroom door would creak open. Some white one never wanted, sermon noir, vaguely human thing, like a mortuary corpse draped in cloth, would hover silently out of my bedroom. Maybe I'd even be able to see its rotting feet dangling beneath its shroud. It would drift toward me without waking me, not until it had me where it wanted me, with its dead hands around my throat, crushing my neck into the carpet with otherworldly hate until it put me to sleep for good. What the hell was happening to me? I decided to try my ex's technique and make a cut, just a tiny one in the top of the mattress. I told myself that I could always repair it later. And anyway, I had to know. I felt myself trembling as I approached the mattress. The moonlight streaming through by blinds made the room ghost pale, but clear enough to see. Would the mattress scream when I cut into it? Would it bleed? Would hundreds of fabric hands burst out to grab me? The silver blade slid easily into the cloth. Peering inside, I could see that it was stuffed with feathers, just as I thought. Not a single corpse. I went to the bathroom to splash cold water on my face. My shift was starting in a couple hours, and based on my reflection in the mirror, I was the closest thing to the living dead in this apartment. Sleep deprivation is no joke. I lost count of the number of times throughout the day I almost caused a major accident loading a pallet of DVD crates at a bad angle, not noticing a foreman behind me while I was backing up. But what could I do? Call in sick with a bad case of the creeps. At best, I'd be laughed at. At worst, I'd be fired. And I could not afford to lose this job. I decided I'd give the mattress one more try. Maybe the dreams had been caused by lingering stress from what happened with my ex Amanda. Maybe they'd been caused by indigestion. What was it that Scrooge had said, that Charles Dickens story we'd had to read in high school? There's more of gravy than of grave about you. That's true. Whatever it was, I couldn't throw away a good deal without being sure. I was so exhausted that no amount of lingering fear could keep me awake. The moment I got home, I fell down on top of the mattress face first and drifted into a dreamless sleep. The inability to breathe, that's what woke me. And the feeling of fabric fingers pulling my neck downward into the pillow, smothering me, I screamed, grabbed at them to pull them off, and was amazed by how human those lifeless cloth hands felt. Once again, I slithered out of my mattress grip, and once again, it seemed normal the moment I'd left it. I couldn't take any more of this. I stripped off the sheets and single-handedly dragged the mattress down the 3A, hallway, ignoring the angry protests of my neighbors as its heavy bulk bounced along their walls. There was no way I was letting that damn thing spend another minute in my apartment. I heaved it out onto the curb, wiped my hands on my pajama pants, and trudged back up the stairs, where I tried once again to sleep on the floor. The moment I nodded off, however, they were back, hands rising out of the carpet, grappling, crushing, strangling. I pushed myself up from the floor. Nowhere in the apartment felt safe. Whatever had been haunting that mattress, now it was haunting me. And until I freed myself from it, falling asleep would be deadly. I decided to start my investigation at the source. The old geezer who'd sold me the damn mattress in the first place. Luckily, I still had his contact information from the delivery. He didn't answer my first 2 calls. But the third time I got lucky. Yeah, a husky voice rasped into the receiver. This is the guy you sold that mattress to. We need to talk. Kanano. What do you want? Do you have any idea what time it is? Fucking punk. Did you sleep on it or not? I need to know. Before you sold that mattress to me, did you sleep on it? The old man stammered, like a kid who'd been caught in a lie. No, I found it in the apartment of a tenant, ex-tenant. I guess I should say, fucker disappeared, left everything behind. The old man spat, just vanished. That's the problem with you young people. You got no reliability, no roots. The geezer kept rambling, but I wasn't listening. I thought I had a good idea of how his ex-tenant had just vanished. And if I wasn't careful, the same thing might happen to me. Any idea where he got it? I grunted, fighting back a yawn. What's with you and that mattress? Does it have bed bugs or something? I swear, if I have to fumigate that fucker's apartment, the old man groaned. Look, I didn't even know the guy. He probably bought the damn thing from some stranger online. Just like you. A room. Click. Circled mom. Goody. A dead end. I thought, and laughed morbidly. I was swooning from tiredness, but I didn't dare to sit down. If I did, I might fall asleep. I peered out the blinds. The mattress was still out there, propped against the dumpster. An idea occurred to me. I rushed out to inspect it, searching for a tag, a sticker, anything that might suggest where it had come from. Sure enough, there was a hard rectangle of canvas stitched onto its side. The original printing was illegible, but a name and address had been scribbled over it in faded blue ink. Lucy Delacroix, 1142 Birchdog Avenue, city and state redacted. Had I stumbled upon the address of the original owner? I chugged cup after cup of gas station coffee on the drive to Cleburne. I kept the radio turned up loud and the windows down, hoping that chilly pre-dawn air and crackling static would keep me awake until I reached my destination. By the time I drove into town, a bright sunrise had made the grim sky a little less gray, but not by much. Cleburne looked as rusty and forgotten as the overgrown railroad that ran through it. 1142 Birchdog Avenue was a house that had been old and eloquent once. Now it was as derelict as everything else in town. Wind chimes jingled ominously, and a screen door slammed every time the breeze blew. But otherwise, there wasn't a single sign of life in the place. I checked my reflection in the mirror, with my unhealthy pallor, baggy red eyes, and greasy windblown hair. I looked like a junkie out for a fix. I sighed, rang the doorbell, and hoped that Lucy Delacroix was an early riser. Oh, can I help you? The young woman who answered the door asked politely. I instantly felt guilty, a feeling that only worsened when I heard the baby crying and a hound dog howling in the background. I'd woken up the whole household, and apparently this young woman was going to have to take care of all of them. Lucy Delacroix, I ventured. Anna, sir. Dari, the young woman muttered. I'm Donna Delacroix. Lucy Delacroix was my great aunt. I think. But we're not supposed to talk about her. She glanced over her shoulder toward where the baby was wailing. Do you want to come in? This'll just take a minute. West Suburb 182. While Donna rushed off to take care of the baby and the dog, I settled into a saggy couch beside the window. I should have known that was a mistake. Donna took more than a minute, and I felt myself start to doze. It was a nightmarish feeling, watching it happen yet being unable to stop it. One breath. My eyes blinked shut. When I opened them again, a horrific figure was floating past the cardboard boxes in Donna Delacroix's hallway. Long yellow toenails and moldering feet dangled beneath the bedsheet that draped it. 2 breaths. My eyes stayed closed a little longer. The thing drifted closer. The ugly pea-green couch cushions rearranged themselves, sucking me in. The thing beneath the sheet lifted up its arms like a cultist offering a sacrifice to some hateful, forgotten god, and hands of cloth reached up from the couch to hold me in place. 3 breaths. A cord of upholstery slithered around my neck, cutting off my air. I was awake now, but it was too late. The thing beneath the sheet was close enough that I could smell its decay, even make out the shape of its rotting, eyeless face beneath the fabric. The cord squeezed tighter. Mr. Eudora, Donna called out. You all right? Ever my eyes snapped open. With disgust, I flung away the frayed golden cord that had been strangling me. You look like you've seen a ghost. Sri Dewern, Serendio. Yeah, Shaffer Shuritum. I choked, laughed. Donna Delacroix had brought out 2 steaming mugs of coffee, and a mopey-looking hound dog hid behind her heels. Fuck, I coughed. I must look like a nutcase. You must have a lot of faith in people to let me in here. Not really. Donna shrugged, and I caught the glint of a .38 revolver in her apron pocket. But I figure anyone who comes round here with questions about Lucy Delacroix is somebody I want to have a nice long chat with. Why's that? Barry, I coughed. The coffee was terrible and scaldingly hot, and had the effect of making me choke even more. Earlier you said you weren't supposed to talk about her. And well, she was sort of the black sheep of the family. Lucy got a distant look in her eyes as she watched the sky lighten over the desolate red brick town outside her window. Lucy was my granddad's wild younger sister. I only know bits and pieces of the story myself. But apparently she was a... Lucy looked around like she expected to see the necks of nosy neighbors craning around the doorway. A prostitute ran off with some flashy guy from the big city who turned out to have mob connections. And when she tried to leave, he strangled her in her sleep. That's awful. Nasirbawa, I exclaimed. Donna nodded. Paranormal, of course. Word had got around town by the time they shipped her body back to Cleburne. You from the city? Mr. I nodded. Donna went on. Sortum. Thought so. Might be hard to wrap your head around it. But in a small town like this one, reputation is everything. How can you trust a man who can't manage his own family to manage a business? Or pay back a loan? Or be your child's father-in-law? See where I'm going with this? My granddad saw Lucy's memory as this big dark cloud hanging over the family. And he wanted it gone. Didn't even give her a Christian burial. Just dumped her in an unmarked hole in the family plot behind the church. Donna Delacroix sipped her coffee sadly. Her eyes narrowed. Who'd you say you were? Again. I think I might have something that used to be hers. That's why I'm here. Me arch. I'd love to see anything of Lucy's. Shriek, Donna exclaimed. It's like I never really got to know her. You know, she's like this missing puzzle piece of the past that I've never been able to fill in. And it's just a mattress. Aruna cut her off quickly. Donna frowned. So why? Look. Toy leaned forward. If you were Lucy, how would you feel about what happened? Turchi, well, I don't know about you. Donna stared into the dregs of her coffee thoughtfully. But if I was her, I'd be furious. I figure I'd be mad at the whole world. Sushlam, that's what I think. I nodded. Do you think you could meet me around the spot where Lucy is buried in about 4 hours or so? I'd like to do your family a little favor. Pitabarm. I gotta take the baby for a walk anyway. So yeah, Mabobi. Donna hesitated. But mister, are you sure this is about a mattress? Eto. I didn't answer. I was already out the door. I had 11 missed calls from work. But I could deal with that later. What was important now was slapping my face with my right hand while I drove with my left. What was important was finding someplace I could buy a simple pre-made grave marker and get a small brass plaque engraved. I knew it would be expensive, but cleaning out what was left of my bank account was a small price to pay to avoid being slowly suffocated for all eternity in some gloomy underworld. Donna Delacroix met me around 4 p. T and for M in a church graveyard that was, unsurprisingly, only about 4 blocks away from her house. I saw the gravestones of the Delacroix family going back generations, and one patch of dead grass without a marker. The truck of the stonemason I'd found a few towns over rumbled outside the cemetery gate. This where you want the rush job? Das are you, the stonemason asked. I nodded. You sure are paying a pretty penny for someone who's been dead for, 60 years. She deserves to be remembered. Donna said defensively. Bouncing her daughter on her hip, I agreed. The stonemason shrugged, blew a bubble with his gum, and got to work. When it was all over, I parked in the shade of an old sycamore tree beside the cemetery, reclined the driver's seat as far back as possible, and slept the sleep of the dead. If it's true that the dead sleep well, I couldn't say for sure, but no grasping hands or strangling cords came for me while I dozed, and no nightmarish visions of sheet-draped ghouls haunted my dreams. I hope that's because the spirit of Lucy Delacroix is finally at peace. But that's nothing more than a hope, because when I finally got back to my apartment, I could see that Lucy's mattress was gone. The dumpsters were still full, which could only mean one thing. Someone had picked it up off of the curb. Maybe they're sleeping peacefully on it right now, unaware of its twisted history. Maybe, or maybe they've already disappeared, dragged to the underworld by an angry spirit whose anger at the world hasn't yet been quenched. I honestly don't know, but if I were you, I wouldn't sleep in any bed that wasn't mine, not unless I knew where it had been.